Hey everybody, so it looks like if I look over at my other screen here, it's going to look like I'm looking at the other screen, but you won't be able to see me anyways because I'm going to have Revit up in the way. But this video is going to show you how to create a topo surface in Revit, which to show you that, it's going to show you how to turn something like this into something like this that has this sort of ground area around it, as well as how to add some shrubs and other things like that. So this is actually pretty straightforward, and kind of the key, oh, I just had it open. The key thing that you want to see here, oh, here we go, is that we're going to be creating basically contour lines. So this is Corning, New York, of course. This is like the school is right about here. The highway's over here. This is Denison Parkway going out towards Painted Post with the big mountain there. And we see all these contour lines. These contour lines show all of the lines that are of the same height compared to one another. So this is 16,000 feet. Uh-oh, it updated. Come back. Okay, this is 16,000 feet, and so is this little loop right here because it's kind of the same darkness. We go down a little further. We see this is 14, or that was 1,600. This is 1,400, 1,200, and that represents the slope down. And you know, if you've ever driven on the Parkway going east, you know, towards like Binghamton and Elmira and stuff, and Ithaca and Horseheads, this hill slopes down very steeply, and we see that because the contour lines are closer together. Well, the same principles are going to apply here in Revit if we look at this from the top view. And this is, you're not going to see it as strongly here. If I go into my site view, we can see these are the contour lines of 1 foot, or of 0 feet. So this is all level inside of this, but then it slopes down as we go outwards. So that's basically what we're going to create. So I'm going to keep this open, but I'm going to be working in this other model over here. So we have this lovely house. I've added some eaves returns and a little pad for the porch. What we do to add a what is called a topo surface to this is going to be found in our massing and site tab. We also have, just like we have a level 1 plan, a level 2 plan, we also have a site plan. And so this is actually going to show us anything that's in the topo surface here. And so you're going to see what I mean by that, as well as any site components. So creating this topo surface is quite simple. I'm going to try to keep these tabs organized here. This is my done stuff, and this is my new stuff. So to create a topo surface, I'm going to click on the topo surface button, which again was in massing and site. And it should automatically be on place point. And because I was playing with this document before, it's automatically on -6. But let's start at 0. And this is absolute elevation. We're going to stick with that. And what I like to do for starting out is kind of closer to the house, is to lay down a number of points. And some of them are going to appear inside like that. Don't really worry about the lines. Think about the points, which the points aren't necessarily labeled with their height, which can be confusing, but don't worry about that too much. So think of this as like spots where you could measure, perhaps with like a surveyor's equipment, a surveyor's stick. You would go around and measure the height of all these spots, and all of them would be at 0 feet, which is really exactly the same as our level 1 level. If we were to see it, of course, from one of our elevations, all these points would be lined right up with that. So just for fun, I'm going to click the check mark, and I'm going to pop to our 3D view. And we see immediately, we can see the earth created around this. And if I got right down, we'd see that all lines right up with our level 1 elevation, just like I said. But let's actually make this slope down, so we're creating as if this house is sort of sitting on a hill. So I can double click this surface to edit it. Or maybe I can't. All right, it's not working right now. Oh, that's strange. Okay, so I'm going to pick the surface and hit edit surface, because I know that will work. And we'll turn on place point again. All right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say we're going to go -2 feet. And we're going to create another loop around this. And you should see some other lines appearing just like we're seeing here. And what that's going to do, if I click the check mark and go back to my 3D view, is if I get right down on the front, now I'm starting to see that slope forming. And that's based on all those points I just created. So I can keep going like this. Let's pick this topo surface, edit it again. And I'm going to place points, but this time I'm going to get a little more drastic. Let's go -6. So we're going to go down 6 feet. So this is really a little house on a hill, a 6-foot hill. And I'm going to place these points around. Now this is where sometimes the lines disappear. I think that has to do with Revit only shows the lines at certain intervals, and I don't really know how to update that right now, so just kind of roll with it. What you can always do is unpick or hit escape, and you can click on a point, and over here it'll tell you what elevation it is. So that's our -6. This is 1 or 0. So that will serve you the purpose of showing you what those points are if you need to see. Then I'll click the check mark. Let's go back to our 3D view. You can edit this all in the 3D view. I just find it easier to work in the site tab or the site floor plan there. And now you can see this is really sloping down a lot more. Now, something else you might notice is the ground may appear to be running over some things like a slab. If you've got a basement, it's going to be cutting right through your basement. If we were to look behind this, we would see, oh my God, it's cutting into the floor. So that's no bueno. We don't want that. So what we can do is add what's called a building pad. And for this, I actually like to be in level 1. What this lets us do is it basically lets us cut a shape, which would be like where our foundation would go, out of the house using the walls and lines that are there. So this is just like placing a roof or anything else. I'm going to go around and click. If you find that these are landing on the wrong side of your wall, you can click that to flip it from the inside to the outside. I'm going to pick all my walls. And then I'm also going to get in here and I'm going to pick lines using the pick line tool. And I'm going to pick the edges of my little slab or anything else you have sticking out. And then I got to get rid of this line on the inside. The strategy for that is there's this thing called split element. If I click that and I click, you'll notice, watch this. If I turn that off now, or let's go to modify. And I hover, now that it says split that line into 2 parts, now I can use the trim extend to corner. And these may be new tools, but I'd encourage you to play with them. And you pick the 2 lines you want to keep and it will trim back away. It'll trim that material away. Watch, I'll do it here. And it'll leave me with the nice shape that I want. So now I click the check mark and you should find now that that has solved that problem. And what we can actually do is if I select everything here and deselect my topo surface and I temporarily hide all that selected elements, oops, I missed a piece of the roof. You're seeing it's cutting a hole right in the middle of that topo surface so that it leaves room for the house to be in there so that we don't have that stuff running over the edges of the house anymore. So I will reset my hide isolate. I would encourage you to play with this stuff down here too. Never be afraid to click on things. You can always, pretty much always hit undo. If you're super worried, save a copy of your assignment and come back to it later. So that shows you how to add the topo surface, how to cut out a building pad if you've got a basement or something else going on. We also want to change the texture of this, which fortunately is super similar to changing the texture of the walls. If you pick your topo surface, you notice this material pops up here. And if you click in that box, we get another 3 dots and we can come to the same exact interface that we had here when we were placing our walls. So you can search for grass is probably the most common one that you want. If it's not up here in the top and this is collapsed for you, remember to expand the material library and add this to your project. If you really wanted to, you can actually get in here and there's like different types of grass you can pick. You could tweak the color of it and play with different things. There's different options there, so that's up to you if you want to go exploring. I think you can actually, maybe I shouldn't mess with this. I think you can actually pull up some different, can we see thumbnails? Oh, here's different patterns. So I don't know if this is called grass. This is called grass here. I don't think these are showing up in alphabetical orders. So do this at your own risk is my point here. But what you could go do is go through here and if you can find some other grass or some other texture you want, you can run that on your floor, but we're not going to do that. Oops, I forgot to hit OK. Let's do that quick again. Click the little 3 dots. I should have grass in here now because I just added it. Oh, add. Whoops. So don't forget to click OK. Let's click OK real quick. And now when we click off, we have a nice grass texture. And when you do a rendering, that'll actually appear as grass. So that's when this can be really cool. And the last thing I said that we would add to this was some of these various shrubs and other kinds of scenery, or sometimes referred to as entourage. So to add that stuff, that is also in our massing and site. We click Site Components. And by default, it already usually has loaded some trees, but just like any other component in Revit, here, let's throw a red ash tree just in the backyard here. Place that there. Maybe that's too close to the house. We could get into our site tab. We could place another one over there. And then if we want to load more families, we click load family. And I'm already in the folder because I was here before, but you should find planting. And then there's some more tree options, different categories of trees, even fall trees if you wanted to create that sort of scene. But let's open the shrubs. And this gives us a whole bunch of different types of shrubs. Talks about the height of it. Barberry is like we used to call it a fire bush. It's actually an invasive species, but those look real decorative. You could throw a couple of those on there. If you're in your site view, you can, of course, oops, that's the site for my finished product. You can, of course, align these. So maybe I wanted to get those nice and lined up, things like that. Maybe I want a different shrub in here. Let's put, Forsythia is pretty. Ooh. Oh, so that actually just changed the one that I had selected. So let's put the Forsythia over here. It's a little close to the building. Let's unselect by clicking somewhere else. And then I'm going to place components one last time. And let's stick another barberry bush in there lined up with that one where we had it. So you can play with this all you want. Just like everything else, don't spend a ton of time on this. That's what a Forsythia looks like. But, be thinking about this. Be thinking about how you want to make it look. And then I'll have a separate video for how to place things in the, or how to create a sheet where you have a background and a rendering and some stuff like that. So you can get a nice view like this that's a little cleaner and crisper than, just a regular house floating in space. It actually feels grounded and it can be kind of nice. So that's all for now in this video, folks.